Clothing is a cultural universal that has continued to evolve throughout time. While each culture has their own unique style, clothing is used for many of the same functions, such as protection, social status, and self-expression. In the following story, we will demonstrate how the culture of the Native Americans and Europeans influenced one another's clothing choices and how that evolved into what we wear today. Every day, we all make choices when we choose what clothes we are going to wear. It is important to realize what factors influence these decisions.
Before European contact, Native American clothing was made primarily from materials that were readily available to them in nature. These materials included animal skins, porcupine quills, and plant products.
While Native Americans were limited to what material they could use, they still were able to decorate their clothing to show prestige and status. The main decorative products the Native Americans used were paints, feathers, porcupine quills, and dyes. Native Americans wore shoes called moccasins. Moccasins were often made of the hides of animals. Moccasins were soft-soled shoes, but the Native Americans smoked them over a fire in order to keep them water-resistant.
European clothing was very different from Native American clothing. It was mostly made from textiles such as cotton, silk, and wool.
Clothing in Europe was very important in order to show status and fashion. In the 16th and 17th century, many Europeans traveled to the Americas in search of a new life. When they arrived, they ran into the Native Americans, who had a very different culture from them. As time went on, these two cultures interacted and influenced one another in a variety of ways. One of these ways was clothing.
One way that the Native American and European cultures influenced one another was through trade. Europeans brought over many items which Native Americans had never seen before, and Native Americans used natural resources from the environment in a way that was not seen in Europe.
The Native Americans' clothing often had a lot of animal products. Europeans were not used to living in the conditions of the Americas and traded with the Native Americans for animal furs. Sometimes they used these furs for warmth. As trading went on, fur hats became very popular with Europeans.
One unique thing that Europeans introduced to the Native Americans were glass beads. These beads were very symbolic to the Native Americans, and they found them highly valuable. They began using them to decorate their clothing and other items. Simple things, like a dress, were decorated with beads as well as bells and other European trinkets.
While Europeans saw beads as a worthless commodity, Native Americans valued the polished surface as well as the variety of colors.
Each color and pattern of the design using the beads had its own purpose to the Native Americans and reflected an important aspect of their culture.
Another influence European culture had on Native Americans was on their footwear. Native Americans began wearing hard soles on their shoes in order to better protect their feet from the harsh climates and living conditions. Clothes today are used primarily for fashion, comfort, self-expression, and function. We still use beads like in the past, but also have developed other methods of decorating our clothing, such as sequins, name brands, patterns, and styles. Clothing now can be found in a variety of materials, thicknesses, and designs.
Today's footwear comes in a variety of forms, such as heels, sneakers, flats, flip-flops, etc. Each type of shoe serves a different purpose. However, they all have a hard sole in order to protect our feet.
From the beginning of time, clothing has changed in its look and its purpose. You never know what sorts of clothing will develop in the future. For example, self-tying shoes are currently being developed.